Hi, this is Manuela, and this is class number 7, Your Soul is Always Evolving. Today I will be talking about depression, mental illness and spirituality. So, what happens when we get hurt or when we go to some emotional trauma? As I mentioned in the past videos, in order to live a balanced life, we need to allow the soul to shine, to have confidence, to achieve our goals, to be able to love. The soul needs to really shine and take over the body instead of ego. So when we get really hurt, when our heart gets broken and we go to some emotional trauma, or we are living in a relationship that we don't want to be, doing a job that we don't want, we are simply not on our life path, serving the purpose, our soul gets squashed. And the more you stay in that relationship that you don't want to be, or doing the job that you don't want to do, or not healing that heartbreak, or depends how much are you really hurt. Sometimes we are hurt to the point that we simply cannot heal the hurt, and that's possible. So really all depends how much pain are you really experiencing. And if the pain is really too big and you can't make the changes, you can't sort of find the help that you need to allow that soul to shine again, what happens? The soul gets really squashed and the ego takes over, which creates very dark aura as well. Your aura will be very small and very dark, which are going to be definitely attract a lot of entities. So you will start with really simple depression. You might have days where, in about a week, you would have 1 or 2 days that you simply feel depressed, you don't want to get out of the bed. Then if you don't do anything about that, if you don't take care of that stress and trauma and what you're going through, you will find that more and more of those days that you feel depressed and you don't want to get out of the bed, you will have. You might have 3 to 4 days a week until it comes to every single day a week that you just simply don't want to get out of the bed, that you're finding it hard to cope, that you feel very sad every day, and that you feel like crying every day. And this is what we call major depression. So it will start with really small signs, and if you recognize the first signs and you make some changes and you seek professional help, you will see that you can actually heal and you can take control of that. But if you don't, the depression always goes further. It grows on you. It makes you more and more depressed to the point that it's going to turn into different type of illness. Every untreated depression will turn into different type of illness. So I'm going to explain it from logical and from spiritual perspective. So what happens from logical perspective? We all know that your body has, in order for you to live a happy life, it's very important your body to have enough endorphins, happy hormones. When you have a lot of stress, your body doesn't produce much of happy hormones. And yes, the same like the way my guides actually explain to me, it's the same like if you have a vehicle and you know that there's a petrol tank there, and you know that when the gauge goes close to a red, that it's telling you that you need to top up your petrol, that you're coming to an end. But you still know that when it's on a red, you still know you got quite far to go, because you do have reserve. Even if it's on a red, you still have reserve. It's the same with your happy hormones. Your body has reserve there for emergency, for really, really bad and tough times. And these are the times when you find it that, as I said, when you every day can't stop crying and feel sad. So this is the times when your body is using reserve. So after the reserves are gone, after your tank is completely empty, that's when you might have some really bad breakdown, you will end up in hospital, or you will be diagnosed with different mental illness. It will definitely go into different mental illness as a schizophrenia or personality disorder. So that's what's really happening on a logical, on physical level. But what's happening on a spiritual level is that your chakras getting all blocked. You don't have energy to feed your brain and your body. You don't have energy to make any changes. Your ego, it's really taking over the body and it's pushing the soul out. Also, your aura becomes very weak, very small, and quite dark as well, which will attract entities. Your mind can also create entities because you will analyze. Usually when we're depressed, we're analyzing, we're asking, why is this happening to me? What am I supposed to do? All these sort of questions are going through your mind all over and over again. And this is where OCD comes, because you're analyzing, you want questions, you have questions, you want answers. So that's when the ego really took over the body and can create entities. So in order for you to take care of your depression, it's really important to meditate. Meditation is number one, because what it does on a spiritual level, it quiets the ego and allows the soul to come out, to shine, allows you to connect to your higher self, to be very connected, and your soul to shine. On a physical level, it's quiet your mind as well. Your mind is having a rest. Can you imagine when you're constantly chatting in your mind, you have this voice in your head that's constantly talking? How much pressure does that put on your brain? Is the same like if you were to be talking for 24/7 without stopping? Would you be able to breathe? Can you imagine how much pressure it would put on your lungs? You would lose your voice. So it's the same with your brain. When it's constantly analyzing and thinking, it puts so much pressure that it's going to break down sometimes. Eventually it will break down. So meditation would be number one. Also, it's really important to replace those happy hormones with a lot of exercise. Yoga, exercise, meditation also does that as well. Healthy food, a lot of protein. I also find out that pineapple is wonderful, especially for depression. Pineapple, eggs, and banana are the best food for depression, because they are in a way a bit comforting as well, but they are packed with protein and folic acid as well. So healthy diet will help you to keep your brain in shape. Also, medication is quite important. So either you can get antidepressants from your doctor. It's very important to speak to your professional, to doctor, to counselor, and get some antidepressants. If you are a very spiritual, sensitive person, you'll find that your body won't be able to tolerate antidepressants. They simply just won't do anything for you. In that case, there's always natural. There's a lot of natural supplements that play the role of antidepressant, that's simply naturally replacing those happy hormones, endorphins. Like, for example, rhodiola. Rhodiola is a plant, and it can come in a form of a tablet. It can also come if you go to any naturopath. I got made for me as an extract, rhodiola extract, which is really wonderful. Because rhodiola in a tablet, it's quite expensive, and I find that a lot of my clients as well could not afford it. This one, it's very much cheaper, very affordable, and you can go to naturopath, or some chemist will actually have it as well. So look for any naturopath that can make for you rhodiola extract, which is again wonderful. Also saffron, it's amazing. Saffron can come in a tablets, and this is quite actually affordable as well. So if you Google it, saffron extract, you will find it. Again, it's really wonderful. I used both when I needed. So there's a lot of different natural supplements that can help you. Also, fish oil is wonderful, and vitamin D. There's also different, I believe it's made in America. It's 5-HPT. That it's also really good supplement. So just do some research. There's a lot of information on the internet these days, so really it's about trying and see what really works for you. But I would say if you put all together, and I'm not saying using all natural supplements, but it's really important to treat body and soul. If you just work on the body, the soul gets squashed again anyway. If you just work on your soul, your brain is not getting help. So you need to work on both. As I said, stick to your doctor and your counselor, any medication if you need to, but also adding, going to a spiritual healer, doing some meditation. Clearing your energy is very important once you get depressed, to have that chakras open and have that energy really clean will help a lot with your depression. And add those supplements, because really they're not interfering with your medication. So that will help you to really stay in shape and bring yourself back, bring your soul back. Once you feel strong enough, you can slowly get off medication. But you need to know when you need to follow that gut feeling to tell you that you are actually, your soul is really back. So that's just depression we're talking about. Now I'm going to go a little bit deeper into schizophrenia. So what is schizophrenia? So again, as I said, we don't deal with depression. The aura gets really dark. The soul is really squashed. And the ego takes over the body. Ego brings entities in. And it doesn't have to be one. I've seen people that were packed with entities that I couldn't see they actually body. They were just packed with entities. Once one entity comes in, many others will come as well. So the entities are not just chatter in your head. They don't just create a chatter in your head when you analyze. They literally are voices where you can hear them clearly, because they act almost like guides, like a dark guides, dark angels that sort of want to make you think you're talking to your guides. And they pass all these messages, or they're making you do bad things. I heard a lot of them saying that they have these bad thoughts. They're telling me to do something really bad. So this is schizophrenia, where your body and your aura, it's really taken over by entities, not just ego, but entities. And this is something that's it's truly impossible to heal with medication or just on the body. This is where it's really more about healing the soul. This is where the healer, a Reiki therapist, somebody that can deal with entities, only can really help. There's no way, I can tell you 100%, that it can be cured with medication and with therapies. No. You need a healer that's going to remove all these entities, and you will see the difference almost immediately. I experienced this years ago when I had a client, a mother brought a was quite a young child. That didn't make sense to me when she said to me that he's diagnosed with schizophrenia. He was only about 14. And I remember in the reading very clearly came that he does not have schizophrenia. That's just impossible. As we were talking, the boy got very irritated, and all these voices started talking to him. He started walking up and down my shop and couldn't calm him down. He was telling me all these dark voices that he can hear. As I tried to calm him down and I put my hands on his shoulder, I saw this entity, very dark green, sort of monkey look shape entity on his back. So I called Archangel Michael to take the entities into the light, and I did that. After that, the boy simply just calmed down. It was like a different person. He sat down. He was just quiet, really. And even his voice was really different, very calm. And I was actually really surprised myself, because that was my first experience. I know I always, even as a child, I always dealt with people, I was surrounded with people that suffer depression. And I always knew that my life purpose involves helping with this illness, mental illness and depression. But that was my first sort of step onto my path to actually see what really is. And I was really shocked myself. I thought, my God, this is just so easy and simple to remove. Yes, of course, for healers, maybe not for everybody, but for me this was really simple. And that was sort of like a light bulb for me that, wow, this is something that I will be working on. So that was my first experience, and after I studied a little bit, I done a little bit of research about schizophrenia, which sort of really confirmed that really it's impossible almost to cure it. The doctors cannot really cure it, but working together with the healer and the doctors, I can tell you 100% there is a cure. You can completely heal the schizophrenia, but it's important to change the lifestyle as well. Just remember that every mental illness, every illness you have, what it is really, is pushing you to change your lifestyle. It's pushing you to make changes. So whenever you're diagnosed with any mental illness and you feel that you got control over it, you feel really good, it's very important to stick that routine. Because if you go back, you obviously, there's something in your body, in your cell, that will attract that illness back. So healing the cell completely, which can take 10 years, I can tell you it can take 10 years to clearly remove that illness or the residue, the cellular memory from your body. To heal completely the cell can take about 10 years. So it's really important to stick to routine, to that healthy routine that you made while you were healing. So that's about schizophrenia. And now I would like to go a little bit more, much deeper. What happens when we don't even heal schizophrenia? When those voices those clear voices in our head don't stop. When we are completely taken over by entities. What happens, your guides, your angels, can see that you can't heal, especially if you have a really big heartbreak and you just simply cannot heal. Your guides are always watching you. They're always there, and they can see ahead. Will you get the help? Will you get the right help? So what happens once they see that you are suicidal, that you want to commit suicide every single day, and that you just really can simply not stay here? What they do, they organize a plan which is called walk-ins, walk-in plan. What simply is, there are a lot of very high spiritual souls that learned everything possible and that would like to experience just one little thing, experiencing coming down as a walk-in, which means the soul, the other soul, comes into that body, the body that can't be here anymore, that cannot live here anymore, that life is too hard for them, and didn't complete the life purpose, which can be very confusing. When you know that you didn't complete life purpose, especially spiritual people that really know what they meant to do, and they know that they couldn't do it, that they're hitting the brick wall constantly, that they don't have energy, that they are almost on their deathbed, the guides organize walk-in, which means the other soul just comes in, and the soul that cannot go on anymore goes back to heaven. And this process calls walk-in, which is a very, very delicate process. And it's almost like a last plan. There is no other plans for you anymore. This is the last plan that your guides will have. After this one, there's nothing anymore. If this doesn't work, both souls will die, will go to heaven. So what the process is, really, it's about having new soul slowly coming down and the old soul slowly going up. So this is the process that's sort of happening. In the same time, one soul coming down, in the same time the other soul goes up. And it's a very, very delicate process. Any interference here can actually not just slow down the process, but completely make up the process, completely bring the big distractions. And what happens when it's completely the process mucked up and it just can't sort of progress, it can't sort of happen? What happens that the both soul can stuck into the body, and that's possible. It happens all the time. We're just not aware of. This is what we call personality disorder. This is when those poor mothers that feel no connection to their children, that are completely disconnected from their children, this is when they want to kill their children, and mothers that kill their children. They have walk-in in them. And on a spiritual level, these souls are very struggling really heavy. Logically, nobody can find out why. This is multiple personality disorder. Can be multiple personality disorder because also the entities will come in as well. Sometimes can be only personality disorder. It's when we have two souls in one body and the personality is constantly changing. Of course, what happens, the old soul that it's sort of slowly dying and need to go back to heaven, wants to die, has a lot of hatred, a lot of resentment towards people because nobody helped them, or whoever hurted them, whoever brought the pain. The soul is still there, very angry, very lost, very dark soul, angry, lost. The same like when somebody dies and doesn't find the light, they actually become very dark soul on earth. This is what we call ghosts. The same process happens, it's happening in the body. So it can be very, very destructive. And the longer it stays, the worse it becomes. And then you have this new soul that it's in, that's trying to take off the body, push the soul out, and continue living a happy life. So you will have this like two different personalities. Sometimes this person can be really wonderful and happy, and then this old soul, when it's trying to get out, it brings back all the memories of the past, and that's when this personality disorder occurs. And as I say, the longer it stays there, this soul that needs to leave the body becomes very dark, and people do kill and do really, really horrible things. So again, it's a quite, I would say, delicate process even for the healers. Only healers can deal with this. Only healer, good Reiki therapist, I would say, not every Reiki therapist can do this, to actually bring that balance, remove the old soul, send the old soul to the light. Again, this same process you will use. Meditation is very important to allow the new soul to come in. It's really important to actually, it would be really helpful if the person knows what's going on, that it has the walk-in in, and you can actually talk to the new soul and release the old soul. So if you have a healer, a really good healer will actually see that. So the process would be to release the old soul to the light and allow the new soul to take over the body, to shine. Again, it can be very well done with meditation and with some healing therapies. There's no way you can do it with medication. I really believe here that medications are really useful here. They do nothing. I'm not saying don't use them, try them, but really go and seek healing, help from a healer. So I would like to share a few stories today with you. Also, a lot of when they walk in, step in. I will do another video next week that it's going to be only about walk-ins. But for now, I'm really focusing on depression, and I really feel I need to give these 2 stories out that are going to help you to understand people that are really struggling with this. And later on, we'll go deeper into walk-ins. When the walk-in plan really works really well, it can be really great actually. The new soul comes in and the old soul leaves the body, and all the process is completed. The new soul will have few little differences, not really big difference, because the new soul that's coming in must match the old soul. Otherwise, it can bring only more destruction. It wouldn't be able to continue living the life. The only way that new soul can continue living the life and completing what the old soul couldn't is to be very similar. Few adjustments and few differences can happen. Especially what happens, what you will have is the new soul, the life that the new soul, the last lifetime that new soul that came in lived, can bring a lot of traits into the new body. So you'll find it that things that person didn't might like, things that person liked really, doesn't like anymore. So really few differences, and only people that really know that person will actually notice. A lot of people won't notice the difference, but really dramatic difference are impossible. It cannot happen, because otherwise the new soul wouldn't be able to continue life. It's really important for soul to continue living life. So I had experience with 2 of my clients where they had walk-ins, and they weren't aware actually. And this is what I'm trying to explain, that on earth it's happening every day. It's just that people are not aware. And some of walk-in process happens really happily. The person just simply changes a little bit, decides to make dramatic changes. They always make changes. They move home somewhere completely new. They change their career. They spiritually definitely open up. Spirituality is really strong. I'm feeling they're very connected to their higher self, because the soul that comes in, the only soul that can perform a walk-in, the new one that's come in, it has to be a master up in heaven, because not everybody can do that. As I said, that's at the last plane. And the soul that's coming in, it's not just highly spiritual, it's a master. So they will be very, very spiritual, and they usually will do spiritual work. So yes, they will make dramatic difference. So I'm just going to share these 2 stories with you first. When I started doing my healing work, I also in the same time had a cleaning business, and I had a couple that was working for me, a wonderful couple, young couple. I never actually had really too much conversations with them. We had a good work relationship, and I respected them a lot, and they do respect me, but we never went into personal life. We never spoke about our personal life. So one day I was rushing to go home to see our clients. We were cleaning holiday apartments, and I normally would come and just check, make sure that they finished, that they have everything they need. So as I did that, I walked in and I asked them also that I really needed them to finish this on their own, because I need to go. So they asked me, okay, so where are you going? They sort of said it in a joke, do you have a date, or what is so important that you have to leave? And I said, no, I actually have a client at home and I do psychic readings. And they looked at each other, and there was this, aha, that explains. And I was surprised. I looked and I said, what does that explain? And they started telling me all these stories. The first gentleman said, actually, he said, well, that's why. Because he was very open, he could see. He said, that's why every time you come in, you do have this white light around you. We can see that really clearly. But the other thing is, when you leave, that white light stays. There's a white shadow that stays there. And his wife also said that she can actually sometimes hear. It's almost like that white shadow talks to them. She can actually hear. They said they had a joke about it, that I have my guides, I leave my guides there making sure that I do a good job. That's possible, my guides are awesome. So we had a little laugh there, but then we had a serious conversation where the gentleman was really trying to explain to me what happened to him and how he was struggling since then. Also, his wife actually told me once, she said she was really rushing and she closed the dishwasher. She wasn't sure if she's going to wash the dishes, so she thought she'll just close it and leave it, and then she could clearly hear a voice telling her to do the dishes. So they are very open. I could see that they're very open and they can hear clearly spirits and guides, but they were struggling. They told me that about 3 years already they cannot sleep at all. He couldn't sleep at all. Maybe could get 2 hours or 2-3 hours maximum of sleep a day. And through him, she couldn't sleep as well. And they couldn't have children as well. So he told me the story that when he was younger, about 4 or 5 years ago, he was a bit of a bad boy. He liked to drink. He had a motorbike. And he had a big accident on a motorbike. So paramedic announced him dead. His wife and his mother received a call that he was killed in an accident. So on the way, mother and his wife come to the hospital. On the way to the hospital, he came back. He was alive. So when the mother and wife came in, he was actually alive. The mother and the wife noticed few difference. He was the same. He didn't think anything changed, but he didn't like beer anymore. He definitely didn't drink anymore. Few little different things happened. He was much more quieter, didn't ride a motorbike anymore, and was more spiritual, definitely. That's when the spirituality opened. He could see spirits, he could hear them. But I'm feeling what I felt then, some adjustment needed to be done. So he arranged a session of Reiki with me, and after the first session he actually managed to get sleep. Also his wife, she had a session, and after a few sessions, probably about 3 months after, she fell pregnant. So they had a child and they were really happy. It was wonderful. So what happened? As the new soul came in, it takes about 2 to 3 years for the new soul to really find the ground into the new body, to really settle in completely into new body. And what happened with him? Obviously, he wasn't aware what was happening, and he couldn't do that. He needed a little bit of adjustment through healing, and once he got that, he was happy. He was able to continue life. And the other story that I have is one of my clients as well, that was coming, a woman that was, again, very heartbroken, gone through a lot of emotional trauma I could not heal. And she would come to my shop every single day. In that stage I had a crystal shop, and I was doing readings and healings there, and this woman would come every single day just to get some hope, just to give a few words to keep her going, so she wouldn't commit suicide. Every single day she wanted to commit suicide. She would just tell me that she can't live anymore. She was completely lost. And one day she collapsed on the front of the shop. Again, the paramedic came. She wasn't breathing, and again they said that she's gone. 2 weeks after that, I mean, I couldn't contact her. I didn't have personal information of her family or anybody, but 2-3 weeks after that, she came in a shop. She was dressed differently, very colorful clothes, very vibrant energy. She had goals. She knew exactly what she wants to do. She wants to move. She wants to change career. It was just amazing to see this person that couldn't cope, couldn't simply live here, suddenly just wants to live and have goals and really work on them. So it was wonderful. And the other things that we noticed with her, a few lines on her hand changed. I'm talking about a palm. I don't read palms, but I am familiar with few lines, and we noticed that some lines on her hand change, which would be definitely possible, because the lines on your hand are showing your life path. And if the life path change, if you have a new soul in, the life path can change a little bit. It has to change a little bit. So those are a few little changes that happens with walk-in, but not much. Now I would like to give you the other video that I would really like you to watch, which would really help you to understand how important it is to stay connected and to fulfill that purpose. Because when you sign a contract, or when God put you to do something, He put you on earth to accomplish some really big major purpose. And if you can't do that, you just simply get stuck. You can't move in your life, and that's when depression again starts. Staying connected and knowing exactly what you're meant to do. And when you see the doors that you're going through are constantly closing and closing on you, this is a time where you need to spiritually connect and see what is it. That is the only way that you can move forward, to see what did I want you to do. And this YouTube video is by Lisa Miller. Lisa, and surname it's M-I-L-L-E-R. The YouTube video calls Depressions and Spirituality, Two Sides of One Doll, which is very similar to what I just talked about, but her story, it's really deep and very clear message about life purpose. And when it's something that you're really meant to do, how your guides will not let you move on until you do that. So please watch that YouTube video. And the last story that I would like to share with you, it's a story that the first time I talk about to anybody. This YouTube video is my story that I never mentioned to anybody. Story that I lived in the last 7 years, and story that I'm first time going to share with everybody today. Story of my walk-in. 7 years ago, I had a great vision of my future life, as I always did. I mean, as a child, I always knew what's coming up ahead of me. I could see where I'm heading, what I'm meant to do, where I'm meant to live. Always the doors were open for me. I always step in really with ease. I never had trouble where I was stuck, where I didn't know what to do. I had business after business, job after job. And about 7 years ago, I met somebody that I knew was my soulmate that I meant to stay with. I had a lot of visions ahead about us, our life together. But things didn't go really by the plan. He had a lot of healing to do. Also, my whole family were going through their spiritual awakening, and all friends that I knew at that stage, everybody that I was surrounded with, were going through a big spiritual awakening. None of them were really connected. So all the plan, which sometimes can happen, the plan can go completely wrong, because everybody was lost. Nobody was connected, nobody knew what to do, and they were all driven by their ego, pushing this way or pushing that way, and the plan got completely mucked up. So what happened? I got hurt. First, just simply got my heart broken by this man, and then, no matter how much I tried to heal, again I would hit this closed door that would just hurt me. Every single person I knew, including my whole family, my old friends, every single friends I had, even my children, ripped my heart. I could not heal and put myself together. That happened in about 2010. In about 2012, I was heavily depressed. My soul was really squashed. I couldn't do any work. I could barely keep my head above the water. I lost everything financially. I struggled emotionally and just couldn't couldn't see the way out. And everybody that I was hoping that could help me would actually turn against me, because they believed that I'd done something that I never done. I was punished for something that I never done, just because somebody believed I did. I couldn't heal my heart. I couldn't heal the emotional pain. The pain was so strong and heavy that I couldn't breathe, I couldn't be here anymore. So from 2012, I was living literally out of my body. I was on the first level every single day, and I had to with all my dead family. I could hear them clearly, I was communicating with them clearly. That wasn't just my psychic ability, that was me literally living there with them. I wasn't here at all. Every day, every night, I would spend crying and praying God, asking God to take me. Also before that, I was writing my book, my life story, where I started writing everything from the past, what happened to me. From 2013, I started writing the future. In about 2014, all that information that came to me, I just couldn't believe it. Really, it was such a heavy stuff that I just couldn't believe it myself. I also couldn't believe it. How could I be so connected and receive all these messages when I'm so depressed? But then again, I was really high. I was living on a first level. My guides were very connected. I could feel them always around me, and I could see them even when I was sleeping. Obviously, I had really that extra protection because I needed. My guides could see what's happening. But about 2013 or 14, I started getting a very strong message that I'm going to die, and that I need to take my kids close to family on a safety. My kids in that stage were about 14, 15, and I couldn't stop crying. I could not find help. So somehow I asked my angels to give me the strength to organize this move, to move back close to my family. I left everything I had. I just took suitcases, couple of suitcases, took a plane and moved close to my family. Also close where this man was as well, the man that I was meant to be with. But as I came there, I thought I could put myself together maybe. But the feeling of death was really there still. I obviously couldn't see exactly what happening because I was searching why are they doing this. I couldn't have the answer. Why everybody hates me and why everybody's punishing me. I didn't have the answers, I was still searching why. And when I find out that my family see me in a totally different light, that my family doesn't trust me at all, that broke my heart even more. This time this man didn't trust me at all, broke my heart even more, and I closed myself. Every time I tried to communicate with them, again the doors would close on me. It would end up in a real disaster, and I would withdraw, end up completely alone, totally alone. I had my kids stay with me, confused, not knowing how to help me. And I'm very grateful for that. Because what happens when we go into that transition and the walk-in comes in? Because it's a new soul, you will definitely find that you're going to be disconnected from your family. About 2014 and 15, I was completely disconnected from my family. I had no feelings. I felt that I don't have a family. My sister, I was disconnected from my kids as well. I didn't feel love for anybody. Didn't feel love for my kids. I was still grateful that they were there, but it was very different. It was like I had these two strangers in my home that tried to help me, tried to understand me. And I remember I looked myself in the mirror, I couldn't make sense. I just knew, I don't know this woman. I don't know who this woman is. Also couldn't connect to my name. My name just didn't make my sense. Every time I would say my name, who I am, or I was writing my name, it just didn't make sense. I couldn't connect to my name. In that stage, I did start to get very clear message that I have a walk-in taking place. Again, I couldn't believe it. There was times that I thought, yeah, okay, that's maybe possible. I done research, I watched a lot of YouTube, but it didn't help me much. Some of the YouTube videos would saying that they had a dramatic change, complete change, which is really impossible. But my guides again pulled me back, brought the memory back of these 2 clients that I had that didn't have really big changes. So I was very confused again. I couldn't believe that. I just couldn't accept that I have a walk-in. Everything was going towards my death, which really makes sense. The way we receive messages, sometimes it's really hard to understand them. I thought I'm really gonna die. But it's not. On a spiritual level, I did die. The soul, my real soul, died. It was gone. It was just really leaving the body. And because my family interfering a lot, trying to understand me, trying to make sense of me, and I trying to make sense of them, that interfered a lot. What it happened, every time when I engaged with them, they would bring the soul back, the old wanted soul back. The old soul, wanted soul didn't have the answers, didn't complete, was very lost, and couldn't really go to the light. And every time they tried to engage with me, they would bring that soul back even stronger. So I was really, really struggling. There was some stage that I really sort of pushed everybody away. I done a lot of healing, a lot of meditation. And I accept that if I do have walk-in in me, that it's okay. I just sort of left it. I said, whatever, whatever happens, I'm just going to continue working on my healing. I meditated 3 times a day. I sort of felt a little bit better, but I still felt I need healing. I definitely felt I need healing. So I arranged a healing with some of my friends that recommended to me. But because all my friends were digging into my life, wanting to find out stuff about me, they followed me in everything I did. So they obviously knew that where I'm going to have healing, and there was a little bit interference there. My healing took place, and I remember very clearly 2 very different situations. And also before that healing, in that stage when I started feeling really good, I had this desire to go onto motorbike or to go on this really fast ride. I wanted to experience this fast ride. So could it be either on those rides that they have on the shows, something really amazing, fast, or really to have a ride on a motorbike, really fast ride. That was something that I always was thinking of. So when I came to that healing, I remember myself almost like, it wasn't the same like when I crossed over an operation, where I sort of felt the light and pulling towards the light. This was different. This was like a magnet. It just like jumped from one place into the other. It's like in 1 second I jumped from one place into the other. And it's like I was sort of dropped in that place. But the feeling that I had when I came there, I wasn't exactly sure where I was, but I just remember really clearly coming there, and it's sort of almost like you jump off this motorbike or this ride and say that was just amazing. The feeling of joy, of that, oh my God, that was just amazing. I couldn't understand what was amazing, but that ride obviously was amazing. I just felt like I just come off really amazing ride. And then I saw my guides, and they took me to Akashic Records, where I was watching as a movie all my past life. They explained to me, I obviously learned this, and then they showed me past lives that I almost tried everything. I heard my guide telling me exactly that I tried everything. Experienced absolutely everything, every lifestyle. I was a dog, I was a cat, I was a swan, all that sort of I saw. And then I had this distraction, this other situation that was, I felt somebody was distracting me, knowing that I have healing in that time. And there was just distraction of energy, that I sort of felt I actually, even my healer told me, I took my hand and I said, stop. And my healer asked me, you want me to stop? And I said, no, not you. I obviously was talking to somebody else. So that was happening on a physical level. But on a spiritual level, what I really feel was that that was the time when my old wounded soul left the body, finally, crossed over. What was still left? It was the ego part of the body. As if you remember in the other videos that I was describing, when somebody dies and the soul goes to the light, but the ego part stays on earth for a while. So this is what happened. In that healing, the soul actually found the light, went to the light, but the ego part was still there. And even in the next, what happened after the healing, I hit rock bottom. Because the ego part was still very there, and through the whole healing process with the destruction, the ego part couldn't leave the body. The ego part was very much still there. So after the healing, I felt really worse. I hit rock bottom again. I was very depressed again. And again, confused. And I had this anger, this old soul, ego part of the old soul was really still very active. And I was going like yo-yo. I would pick up myself and feel really good, and then I would feel anger. And usually when I would interact, even thinking about interacting with my friends and my family, would bring out that anger, the frustration in me, the need for punishing the people that did this to me. And that was going on for a very long time. I could not find the answers until a little differences started showing in me. The difference that I really noticed, that I sort of noticed in the last 3 or 4 weeks, I was really analyzing everything, going back, taking myself back and analyzing that the first thing I really had was really trouble talking, that my words were sometimes really jumbled up, that people could not understand me. Sometimes I would find really hard to actually put the words together. But when I do, when I find that I was actually really talking, really communicating clearly, again, my words were very different. I used different words. When I sent text to my cousin, it was very different, almost official. Even I would read and I would thinking, God, no, I wouldn't do this normally. So those were little things I noticed. What really brought my attention to seeing that all my messages are right, that I could have a walk-in inside of my body, was my first YouTube video. When I done my first YouTube video, introduction video, I done that introduction video probably about 7-8 times until I got it right. When I done the first one, it was like a dead woman talking. And I remember I look at it and I could see this dead soul there, so sad, so wounded. My words were so shallow, and then I could see this other one that wanted to actually come out, that wants to live, that wants to share this information with people. So after that, it hit me. It really hit me. I showed to my son. My son couldn't comment much. He could see it, but he didn't want to say much, didn't want to hurt me. He just told me, Mom, try to be a little more confident. That wasn't the case, really. So what I did, it took me about 5-6 hours to do that, about 5-6 minutes of video. I would stop, I would go to quick meditation, contact my guides, ask them what's going on, and I was getting clearly that it's a walk-in. The words I was getting, let the old soul go. Let it go. I obviously was holding on to it a little bit. There was obviously some cords still attached. And I would do quick meditation, cut the cords with the old soul, send it to the light. And I would do another YouTube video. I would have a look and I could see it's still there. So I would do another meditation, another YouTube video. So I done about 6-7 until I felt very confident that the old soul was almost not at all there. But even after that YouTube video, there was a few times that the old soul will sort of jump in, that the cords were attached to me still, or I would be attaching to her. What I noticed really strongly, that when I was thinking about my past and what I went through, I was really sad for that person. I wasn't sad for me. I would cry and cry, but not for me. It's almost like somebody just told me their story, and I would cry for that person. I wasn't crying for myself. I knew that. It was a very strange feeling, that I was so sad what happened to this woman. So yes, I was still sort of attached to her. Not so much. But then the other things that I really noticed, that really sort of showed me that I never liked, I actually hated those jumpers, the 3/4 sleeve jumpers. In the winter, if I'm wearing a jumper, I needed my full length sleeves. And if I would go to a store and try to buy a jumper and I would see a jumper with the 3/4 sleeves, I would get very frustrated and asking, why would I do that? Why would somebody put in a winter jumper a 3/4 sleeve? Who needs that? Could not understand that. I hated it. I could not wear a 3/4 sleeve jumpers. Especially last year, and obviously my guides wanted to bring this really to attention to me, because last winter I obviously had the old soul still very much there. I was looking for jumper, and every jumper, it's like almost every jumper I liked, I would grab to buy it. I noticed it's 3/4 sleeves, so I would put it back and get frustrated. But what happened about 6 weeks ago, I noticed that I pull and I fold constantly my sleeves, my long sleeves, my full length sleeve were always pulled. They were annoying me. So that brought my attention to, and I went to the shops and I found a really nice jumper, and it was 3/4 sleeves. So I thought, I'm going to try this. I mean, if I'm constantly pulling my sleeves up, I might as well try the 3/4 sleeves. And I put that on, and I said to myself, my God, this feels so right, so good. So that was the first thing that I noticed that changed. But the major thing that really changed was my cooking, the food that I was eating. I could never have a garlic or chili. A chili food I could not stand. My stomach could not take it. I could not eat. I never ate chili food, never used chili in my cooking. But now, in the last 3 to 4 months, I'm cooking these recipes that I don't know where they're coming from. All these new recipes that I didn't search, that I'm just throwing stuff in my pot, and this amazing food comes out, and it's always with chili, with garlic. I make myself a garlic bread with chunks of garlic, and I love it, and it feels good. My stomach actually can tolerate it. So that was the major change. All these recipes that I don't know where they're coming from, this food that I'm cooking, that are just so amazing. But every time I try to bake the cake that I did before, I loved baking cakes before, it would not come up. I am not good at baking those cakes anymore. But all this food that sometimes I feel like a real chef, that I'm just having all these thoughts in my mind, just put this and put that and put that, and the food that I never even thought even exist. I'm cooking now, and I enjoy eating it. Also, I never liked meat, but I did eat chicken every now and then. I enjoyed white meat, chicken and fish. But I would say in the last 6 weeks, I believe I released old salt almost completely, and I didn't have any piece of chicken or meat or fish. Even when I think about having it, just doesn't feel right, doesn't feel good, doesn't taste good. So that is completely gone as well. I did have a lot of health issues that my doctors could not figure out. They just could not figure out what was happening with me. So all that made sense to me. And still, I could not accept it, that I actually have a walk-in, until I meditated about 3 weeks ago, I would say. And I was calling my guardian angel. I had a question about my work, and I called my guardian angel, and a different guardian angel came. And I stopped there and I asked, where is my guardian angel? And I got a clear message that you are walking now, and this is your new guardian angel of a walking. I accepted it. In that meditation, I accepted it. And now I'm learning to communicate with my new guides, to get new information, what I'm going to do, what am I meant to do. I'm really grateful that my kids stick around, and they could bring back the connection with my kids, that I still feel love for my kids. And that is with the walk-ins. Everybody that is around you, that stick around you while you're going through the process. Yes, you'll have time where you're going to disconnect from them, but a new soul that comes in needs something to work with. And if the person is there supporting you and is physically around you, the new soul can easily connect to them again and feel the love. So again, the process is back like it never happened. It's like you never had disconnection from that person. But people that are not with you, especially people that hurted you in the past, the new soul really has nothing to work with. It only has the memory. So basically there's no emotions attached to those people. Like my family, for example. I have no emotions. I feel totally alone. I don't have friends. I don't have family. So all I have, it's really the memory. And unfortunately, it's not really nice memory. So the new soul have only to work with is the old bad memory. How can you really connect with that? So that's a big challenge. And I feel that's the next challenge for me. It's really hard. It's really hard still to relate to me. I don't know how to relate to me. Still finding out who I really am. It's only when I do spiritual work that I feel me, that I feel that this is right. Nothing else really feels right, except that. And I know I'm guided to complete the book. When I started writing the book, I did get information that I will help with finding the cure for depression and mental illness. And I feel that I got really clearly that. And the other cure that my old soul needed to complete was to find a natural cure for cancer. And we all know that people that are very connected know that really the cure is within us. And I know that really the cure is in ourselves. It's about changing the lifestyle, getting rid of the meat that's really activating the cancer cells, changing the lifestyle. But also I always felt there was more. There was one major thing that I'm missing that will come out in a book. And that is something that I'll be working next on. Also, I got a very strong guidance yesterday to do this video and to come out as a walk-in for the first time, and also to set up a new video which is going to call Your Questions and Answer. So this new video that I will be doing, it will be available to everybody that's suffering depression, that it's lost, or that's going through walk-in plan. Anybody that can't find the answers, feel comfortable, feel free to send your questions to the email address I will put in the description box. There's no need to put your name or to be formal, just really simply ask the question and the answer will be in a YouTube video. You will stay anonymous, I will not mention any names. I will simply read the question and give the answer to it. I know how hard it can be, going through it completely alone, and I just wanted you to know that I am here for you, to help you to get through this, to help you to allow this process of walking to take place and to be completed as it should be, so the souls don't get lost and stuck into your body. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you understand it. If anything you don't understand, as I said, if you have any other questions, please feel free to email and I will be very honest with you. I don't have time to sit down and reply to the emails, but I will do the YouTube video and just read the questions and answer them all. So I hope you have a great day and this video help you to understand yourself, understand your challenges, and please feel free to talk to me. Lots of love and light to you.